So if you're anything like me, you're always on the search looking for new materials and ideas to get inspiration for your projects. We'll look no further because today I found the next best material for terrain. That's right, pine bark. Welcome back, my fellow artisans, to another exciting episode of the Craft Cave. Today I'll be walking you through my process on how I created this piece of mountaintop scenic for an upcoming project I'm doing with a dragon model. So the first thing I had to do was decide what type of materials I was going to use for this project. Last time I ended up just using some cardboard, hot glue, and plaster to cover the whole thing and paint it. But this time I decided I wanted to try something with a little more texture and grit. Something that wouldn't require as much sculpting as just covering up and using the shapes and textures I already had to work with. So after I got a piece of flooring chopped out to the size I wanted to use for this base, I went outside and collected some pine bark. After I had all of the pine bark collected, I had to start hot gluing it together. So I just slowly took larger pieces and smaller pieces, arranging them around it to create some edges and build up some height to this. After that was all hot glued together very meticulously, I noticed that it did want to kind of flake apart. Still a good material, I would use it again, but just be warned, if you choose to use pine, that it's not going to be as easy as it looks on the videos here. So after it was all glued together, I took some plaster, just coated most of the sections there, left some exposed pine bark, and just really filled in a lot of the gaps to prevent any kind of take away the look that it was just pine bark stacked up and glued together. After that, it was all sealed, had a couple layers on it. I took some cotton balls and some white PVA glue mixed with some water and just kind of filled them in into the cracks. If I were to do this again, I'd probably dilute how much water I put into it there, or maybe even just eliminate the water entirely. But it did do a very good job at filling in those deep cracks and crevices that the plaster wasn't going to go in too smoothly. It's definitely a technique I'd try again, and if any of you have ever tried this or have some advice, I'd greatly appreciate that. So next, I went through with some Mod Podge and black acrylic paint to coat the whole thing as a way to give it a protective layer, as well as cover up all the plaster so I could see where it was actually protected with Mod Podge, not just white on white. After that, I went through with some gray and white dry brushing just to kind of get some shapes and some texture added to it. Now with the dry brushing, I took just a makeup brush with some fine bristles and dabbed it in some white, making sure to wipe off most of the paint there on my hand. But then you want to make sure just to really grab the edges and highlights just to really pull that detail out. And just really take your time with this step, making sure you really grab those details. You'll be a lot happier with your final results by doing that. And then I decided I was going to go ahead and add some browns and oranges and reds to it to further exaggerate some of the colors and just give it some more life to the model. So went through with the browns mostly towards the bottom, and then worked my way up with the reds and oranges at the top. And then once that all had dried, I went through with the dry brushing again, gray and white, to just really bring out the edges and highlight details. After that was all said and done, I took some just basing glue, put down in small sections where I decided I was going to try to have some grass, and slowly sprinkle that on, dusting it off as I went, just to ensure a good even quality of spread here. And then after that, took some of just the ready to stick on your board tufts of grass and just sporadically spread them around the model. All in all, I was pretty happy with this. Definitely more careful this time, just to make sure I gave each of the layers plenty of time to dry, which is why this video was a little bit late. But I figured I was going to try to make something more quality than just pushing a video on you, so I hope you all enjoyed this one, and look forward to my next video where I'll be painting and attaching this dragon model here and having the whole piece complete. Anyways, I hope you all really enjoyed this one. I know I had a blast creating this, and I really look forward to finishing this up with a dragon. I'd love to know what you all think about this, so let me know down in the comments any kind of tips and tricks that you might know. And remember that all of the greatest artists were once beginners just like you, so keep practicing, keep learning, and I will see you on the next one.